You've been sitting in your car outside the gym for 11 minutes. Engine off. Bag on the passenger seat. You drove all the way here. You're not tired. You're not busy. The hour is already blocked out and it's yours. At minute 12 you start the engine and drive home. Nothing dramatic happened. You just never got out. You know this move from your desk too. The document is open, the cursor is blinking, and suddenly you're organizing files. Look at where it stops. Never in the middle of the work. Always right at the edge of it. So why is the last 3 feet the hardest part of everything you do? And why is it that 90 seconds in, the same thing you dreaded feels completely ordinary? That gap, between the doorway and the middle, is where almost every habit you've tried actually died. One mechanism, followed all the way down. And it ends at why 2 minutes, an amount of effort so small it's almost insulting, is the thing that rewires you. Start with the resistance itself. Actually time it. You dreaded that run for an hour and 40 minutes. Then you ran, and by minute 3 you were fine. Think about what that rules out. If the running were the problem, minute 30 would feel worse than minute 3. It doesn't. The pain curve is inverted. It peaks before you move, and it collapses the second you do. Same shape at the desk. Opening the document is the entire fight. Sentence 4 writes itself. Same with the dishes. Same with the call you owe your father. Same with the email you've reread 9 times. So you're not avoiding the task. You've never really met the task. You're avoiding the transition into it. Because the task asks nothing of you until you're inside it. The doorway asks for all of it at once. Sitting in that car, your brain isn't pricing 2 minutes of effort. It's pricing the walk-in, the hour, the shower, the traffic home, the whole shape of the evening. The entire cost lands in 1 instant, in advance, before you've done a single rep. That's the bill you keep refusing. Now notice something. The size of that bill is the size of the plan you wrote. A 40-minute run has a 40-minute doorway. And you can't cross a 40-minute doorway on 3 minutes of willingness. Hold on to that. Which raises the real question. When you build a habit, what exactly is getting built? It isn't fitness. It isn't the pages. Those are results. The habit is something much smaller and much quieter than that. It's a link. A connection between one moment and one movement. Keys in your hand, shoes go on. And Graybeal's lab at MIT watched that link get built, in real time, cell by cell. Rats learning a T-maze, with electrodes recording the basal ganglia, the machinery that runs your automatic behavior. Early on, while the maze was still new, the recordings fired the whole way through. Every turn. The entire run lit up. Then, as the run became automatic, the middle went quiet. The activity collapsed into 2 spikes. One at the start. One at the end. They called it task bracketing. The brain wraps a routine in a start marker and an end marker, and stops paying attention to the middle. Sit with that for a second. The middle isn't what's being encoded. The bracket is. A habit, mechanically, is a start your brain will fire without stopping to ask your permission. Which means the rep that counts was never the 40 minutes. It's the crossing. Every time you go from cue to start, that wire gets thicker. Whether 40 minutes follow it, or 2. And every time you sit in the car and drive home, you're not doing nothing. You're rehearsing the other link. Cue, then nothing. That's a rep too. It's just a rep for the wrong side. So count it honestly. Last month, how many times did you actually cross? Not how many good sessions. How many starts? And this is where the ambitious plan quietly bankrupts you. The 40-minute version needs 3 things at once: a free hour, real energy, and a decent mood. Watch how rarely those 3 land on the same evening. Maybe 5 times a month. So you get 5 crossings. 5 reps of the only thing that's actually being wired. The 2-minute version needs a doorway you can cross on your worst possible day. Sick, late, flat, defeated. That isn't 5. That's 30. 30 crossings against 5. 6 times the reps of the exact mechanism that builds the habit. And I know the objection. On paper, 5 sessions of 40 minutes is 200 minutes. 30 sessions of 2 is 60. Paper says the big plan wins. But paper assumes the 5 happen. And you've been watching them not happen for years now. 0 times 40 is 0. And it has been 0 for a long time. So small isn't modest ambition. Small is paying the one fee your brain actually charges you. Entry. Set that entry price at something you can pay on the worst day you're going to have. Because that's the day the habit gets decided. DJ Fogg's lab at Stanford put this into one line. A behavior happens when motivation, ability, and a prompt land at the same moment. You can't control motivation. Motivation is weather. Some mornings you wake up with it. Most mornings you don't. But ability you control completely. ability is just how hard you made the thing. So Fogg's move is to shrink the behavior until it survives your worst motivation day. Floss one tooth. 2 push-ups. Open the document and write one line. It sounds like a joke. The joke is the mechanism. If it's too small to fail, the prompt fires every single time. And the prompt firing is the habit. That's the whole thing you're rehearsing. Which is why 2 push-ups a night beats a program you'll follow beautifully for 9 days. Now the turn. Because almost everyone runs this rule exactly backwards, and it's why it stopped working for you last time. You've heard the pitch. Just do 2 minutes. Once you've started, you'll keep going anyway. And you will, often. That part is real. Zygarnik, 1927. A task you've started holds its own tension until it's finished. Shoes on, you usually run. Document open, you usually write. Starting really does pull you forward. So people use the 2 minutes as bait. A trick to smuggle themselves past their own resistance and into the real workout. And that is the precise thing that kills it. Because your brain is watching. The second time 2 minutes quietly turns into 40, the doorway gets repriced. Now the 2-minute door costs 40 minutes. You didn't make the small thing easy. You made it expensive. By week 3 you're standing at your 2-minute door with exactly the dread you had at the 40-minute one. And you'll decide the rule doesn't work. It works. You just lied about the price. And your brain audits every claim you make to it. So here's the honest version. 2 minutes has to be allowed to be the finish. You stop at 2, and it counts as a completed win. Fully. Most nights you'll keep going, and that's genuinely fine. But that's a bonus. It's never the deal. The deal is that the door stays 2 minutes wide. Permanently. That's the one thing that has to stay true. So here's the lever, and you can set it up tonight. Write down the 2-minute version of the one habit you keep restarting. Then make that version the entire habit for 2 weeks. Not a warm-up. Not a minimum. The whole thing. You're not training the run. You're training the crossing. Hand your brain 30 of them and let it do what it does. Now go back to the car. 11 minutes, engine off, gym doors right there in front of you. You weren't lazy sitting there. You were doing arithmetic. You were pricing an hour you didn't have, at a door you built too tall. And all those months you thought you were failing at running? You never got to fail at running. You never crossed. You were never bad at the work. You were priced out of the doorway. Those are completely different problems, and only one of them has a fix. So stop trying to want it more. Make the door smaller. 2 minutes isn't a smaller version of the goal, it's the rep your brain has been waiting for you to hand it.